Yo, what's up, guys? Here again with another video. Happy to be on camera again. Very exciting. I feel like not doing the commentary like leaves a barrier in between me and you guys where I like being like I like doing some type of face cam work. So I just feel like it just I don't know. I feel like I talk to you guys more when I do the commentary stuff. So I need to get back into that. I was just kind of trying some new stuff out. But yeah, so we're here with the deck profile. You know, I've been running pure. We're just gonna call this pure Mermail Atlantean pure. We've been doing that for a little while. This past weekend, I basically Friday, Saturday, and Sunday I started doing some DB grinding, and I'll get like 5 matches in a day over the 3 day span. I think I lost 4 times. I lost once to water, just brick back to back. There was no chance. I lost to a branded match where I literally sold. I think I showed that one where I banished the courier. That was yikes. I lost to a Blue Eyes, and oh god, I think I lost to something else. I can't remember. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. I think I did. But yeah, I think it was Blue Eyes and maybe another deck. I think I showed the Blue Eyes lost too. That was just, I don't think there's too much I could have done about that. But yeah, so the deck's been performing really well. And honestly, I feel pretty set in stone with what I have here. So I figured I'd show you guys what I've been crafting. And then I'm going to play again with the DeepSea King Turbo and then make my decision from there what I want to play for the coming up regional. So yeah, let's hop into it. So let's get into it. So this is a 40 card list. A couple things I want to mention before we get into the profile. So I was having actually a lot of trouble at first deciding how I actually want to build this deck. Nothing really felt smooth or right to me. I used the top 64 YCS Orlando list as my template. And it's actually thanks to that guy that I even really got on this list in the first place. He just kept pushing it on me, and eventually I was like, you know what, you're right, I need to give it a shot. So we did, and I looked at both of the topping Orlando lists, and there's things I liked about them, there's things I took away, and then there's things that I just differed in my subjective opinion, which is the coolest thing about this deck is that, it's been proven at this point that, you can legitimately play multiple different versions of this deck and succeed, and it's really cool. Yeah, so I want to play pure because I want to find out if I really need a DeepSea King or not because, inherently it is a brick and, you play bricks in pure as well, but the bricks you play in pure they're a lot more, they're a lot more playable than the DeepSea King bricks. Baby Croc and DeepSea King aren't nearly as playable, as well as, have to play multiple pikes is kind of yikes. It's definitely not the worst normal summon in the deck, but it's not great either because it really only takes off when you're able to pair it with something. And then in the DeepSea King build, you're opening pikes, and then you end up having to tribute them off for shrine. So then you lose your fishes for the DeepSea King. So there's reasons for DeepSea King not to be that great. And I want to try out the pure variant. And so with the pure variant, the things I was going for was maximizing non-engine potential while also straight up just minimizing the amount of bricks, minimizing the amount of additional extenders, additional starters, and yeah, so let's just get into it. So starting off with our starter count, we're just gonna just talk about these 5 cards right here for a sec. So obviously, these are our 5 normal summons for the deck. There is a pike in this deck, but the pike is considered more of a brick than it is one of our normal summon starters. The pike in the pure variant does not get played nearly as often as in the DeepSea King variant. Pike is a lot more usable just because you have a lot more waters in the deck typically, and you're getting shrine off it, and shrine's a pretty important card to get in that variant. Where in here, the end boards kind of fluctuate based on the hand. Obviously you can get the same end board with most hands, but depending on, obviously in a real game state, you're playing through non-engine hand traps. This deck is a lot more flexible in the way it plays, which means it's also, I think the pure variant is actually technically more difficult variant to play because you get more punished by making mistakes. Where the DeepSea King variant, it's a lot more streamlined, and so what's cool about that is that you can kind of do whatever you want and then just last action shrines and DeepSea King discard, and you're playing the same deck every time, and I really like that. And the ceiling is high, and the ceiling in DeepSea King variant I think is higher than in pure, the power presented from the build. But in this list the deck is theoretically and probably objectively just more consistent because we do play more 1-card starters, and these cards work more integral with the deck. And then there's also other cards that we don't have to play as many of, and then there's not as many bricks we have to play. So yeah, 5 normal summons. Obviously 3 Prince is amazing. We don't need to go over that. Double Diva. The reason we're playing Double Diva is because, one, I wanted to get to that 5 count. So it puts us at 5, 1-card starters, as well as, we'll just get it out of the way now, our honorary Prince. We do also play 1-for-1 as our honorary Prince as well. So going first, we have 6
one card starters. Obviously, one for one isn't a legitimate one card starter, but it's close enough going first. And then going second, this count upgrades to 8 because we have the 2 Poseidons in the main deck as well. But yeah, so these cards all felt really well. One for one's fine. You never really love to see, you rather see Prince, but it does get you there, and it just helps just make hands that may have been unplayable now playable. And then Diva is also a pretty cool card in this deck because the way this deck works. Diva is just it's not bad as a opener because it's still a 1 card starter, and yeah, it can get negated, but there's all times where it just doesn't get negated, and you have to take into account that people aren't always going to open hand traps. They might respond to Charmies with this first before they respond like with an Ash or an Imperm. It's all in the air, as well as like you can typically like leave your normal summons like last action, and by that point you might have a free Diva, and it's like if they have it, they have it. If they don't, then you win. Also, a really cool thing about Diva is that it acts as because your opponent knows that this card means Prince. What that also does for you is it allows you to be able to play around the fact that your opponent's going to hand trap the Diva, and so a lot of the times you'll have a follow-up Prince, but they have to spend a card on the Diva. But what's cool about that is if they spend an Imperm or an Ash on a Diva, that's 1 Imperm or Ash they can no longer spend on the Prince or the Shrine or the Poseidra or the Dragoons or the Squad, and so that's also really important as well. And then what's really cool about Diva is that what makes it honestly better than Pike is that this card is also an extender late in your turn because you're always dumping infantry in the graveyard, you always have ways to summon it back, and then you have an additional normal summon online, and then you can do some pretty crazy stuff like Diva into infantry into Diva. It's not likely that you'll be summoning 2 Divas in 1 turn, but it's not a bad extender, and so yeah, we like these, and those cards performed very well. Next for our Atlanteans, we play 1 infantry, 2 shrine, triple dragoons, and double Poseidra. So just going into this, we play double Poseidra just because honestly I would love to max it out, but it doesn't provide enough value going first that I can really put it to 3 because putting this card to 3 with maybe above 40, or I have to cut a non-engine or one of my other engine cards. And in terms of the value of other cards I play versus playing 3 Poseidra, it didn't seem like it was necessary to max out on the 3 Poseidra. This card is very searchable. You're mostly summoning off of Shrine. You definitely want 2, so that way you can summon 1 from your hand and 1 from Shrine, as well as just having the follow-up is pretty important as well. So yeah, double Poseidra seems perfect. I would love to play 3, I just can't fit it. I do main the infantry because for a couple reasons. One, we're playing Diva, so the infantry has more value in the deck, as well as you don't have cards like DeepSea King, so without DeepSea King in the build, your power and your ceiling is lowered, so you need more cards like infantry to kind of help push through a board, where before you could just bait cards and then rely on the Shrine to end the game. With this list, you kind of need to have more options. You need to have more interactions through your opponent's board because your win condition isn't more fragile. It's just your win condition is strictly Poseidra in this deck, where like in DeepSea King also acts as a win condition, separate from Poseidra in a way. And so like infantry just kind of helps get those pushes, as well as there's a lot of cool cards that infantry can hit. It can hit the Blue Eyes cards, like the True Light. It can hit Spirit, it can force out Cross, it can force out Spirit as well, it can hit Caesar, it can hit the Griffin Lock for Malice. So, there's a lot of applications for infantry, and I'm even looking at maining infantry in the DeepSea King build as I play with that. Next we have Triple Dragoon, no need to talk about that card. And then double Shrine. Shrine isn't nearly as important. I did see some lists playing 1. The top 64 list. I don't disagree with why you would want to play 1 Shrine. I tested 1 Shrine at first. I just felt like the second one comes up. Especially in the turns where you have to make a half board and kind of like end before you really start playing. The second Shrine comes in there so that way in the crackback, if you live that next turn after like making a half board, you have the Shrine for the follow up. And the Shrine's still a really important card. Being able to have the banners to draw, and then it just acts as a really solid extender. So even though you're not playing DeepSea King, this card still has a lot of value. Maybe not enough to play 3 because it's not a complete win condition by itself anymore, but it still acts as a very strong extender. Next into Mermails, we play Triple Teus, the 1 Pike, and the 3 Squads. This is pretty standard. Triple Teus because we want to maximize the cards that like provide like legitimate value for the deck, and so since Teus can help us discard our Breakwaters to get cards like Squad or Shrine or Pike even, Teus is a really strong card. Also, it's not once per turn. It's a starter, it's extender, and I never actually side this out going second. I really don't play too much with the actual engine when I'm siding. I try to keep it stable. And then the 1 Pike, this card is it's an additional extender in this deck. It's also a lot of a brick in this deck because it's the worst normal summon to open a pair of. Like even if you open Diva plus Prince, that because you're always going to be, you're most of the time going to be looking at Prince as your normal summon. It's very niche scenarios where you're not, and then And then, so if you open like Prince Diva, you still have like you still have the ability to summon infantry back later in your turn. Infantry will get you your second normal summon for the Diva, so the Diva can still come up later in the turn if you open Prince and Diva. But with Pike, it's like you either normal this or you're honestly just never summoning it, and like it just ends up being water fodder. So you know it's more of a brick in this deck, and then triple squad. I mean, not too much to talk about here, but yeah. So those are the Mermails. Next for our brick waters per se, we have our one Mulan, our one statue, and our one minstrel. So you can see the bricks are very light in this deck, and the bricks that we have are honestly very high impactful. I mean, minstrel, it can be a starter half of the time. So yeah, a minstrel at 1 seems just fine in the main deck, and yeah, it's searchable, so we don't need to talk about that. Statue, this card, just continues to amaze me. It is definitely a stronger end board piece and stronger win condition than Mulan Glacia is. I truly believe that. Sometimes there are times where Mulan is better than Statue, mainly in terms of like playing through Fluoros. If Fluoros wasn't in the game, I probably don't even know if I'd be playing Mulan at all. I know that like Droplets is getting a little more popular, and it's nice to have a card. It's nice to have a card that can discard opponent's hand, and if your opponent's not playing and they have a bunch of board breakers, having Mulan plus Statue is amazing. And so like Mulan isn't bad per se. It's just I think Statue is better, and I just don't think, and I think they kind of do the same thing, where Mulan puts your opponent on so little amount of cards that you should be able to just win through 1-for-1 card trades, and then Statue lock, and which basically means our opponent will not be able to play the game, and then Statue is the same thing, where once you set up a Statue and you have protection for it, your opponent just can't play the game, and yeah, so I just look at. I look at these cards as they do the same thing and just in different ways. But Statue seems to be the better of the two bricks, especially because you can normal summon this, you can summon off a cold enemy. It's a very, very free water versus Mulan, where it's like once you lose the 5 waters in grave, it will almost never come up and it instantly becomes a brick water. Where Statue is always live, and really cool thing about Statue is like even when you crack a board, you can send the Statue off of Poseidra, and then summon it back if you can't kill them, and then set up a Statue line to protect it, and like that comes up more often than not. It's as simple as Poseidra into a coral, and then like Poseidra can summon 2 level 3s, make a Levy add back Prince with Poseidra engrave, and then just like use Levy, and then you just use coral that's on field from Poseidra being linked off into it, and then you summon back Statue that way, and like it's really strong. So yeah, those are our waters, and then our last engine card is the Triana. We play Triana in this deck because, with DeepSea King, it basically allowed you to get to the double rank 4 play plus Trite plus Statue, or double Toad play, without needing Triana. In this deck, the big difference between DeepSea King Turbo and the pure variant is that you have to use your Poseidra as well, your XC Poseidra, to like make your final end board. And so because you have to use him on your turn 1, he's not sitting in your extra deck. And if he's not sitting in your extra deck, then you need the Triana to be able to banish from your grave to recycle him back, unless you're playing 2 the Poseidra, which I would like to do and is definitely a possibility for the pure variant. But yeah, so Triana. It's a fine card, it's a cool extender when it comes up. It's cool when their psychability comes up. It's strong going first. It can help you get to that extra rank 4 play going first, but going second, I typically side out the Triana, the Mulan, and I'll either side out the Statue. I'll try and keep this in if I can though, and then maybe I'll side a Teus at times. Or even a Diva, but most of the time actually it's not Teus, it's actually 1-for-1. So usually I'm only looking at either siding out non-engine or siding out a mixture, like 3 of these 4 cards. These 2 guaranteed every time, and then 1 of these 2 depending on how I feel, depending on how impactful the Statue is in the matchup. If it's a matchup that we can't typically kill, then the Statue is probably the better option, but if it's something that we can kill, then, or if the Statue, it would be irrelevant if we were able to set it up, then 1-for-1 would be better to keep in versus those matchups. But these are the kind of the cards, these are the only real engine cards I look at siding out. And then for our non-engine, we play 15 because I think 15 is the optimal number for this deck, especially in the pure variant where it is a slight bit more consistent. You're able to get away with opening at least 2 non-engine most of the time, and so that's what this capacity of non-engine does. So first we are main decking the Charmies because the Charmies are broken. So these are the only Charmies I have. If I did have 3 Fluoros, I would play 3 Fluoros over the Meowth in the main. The reason I am playing Meowth in the main, yes, it is not great against Ryziel. Technically, you can force out a cross negate or get a free upstart off of the node summon, or if you draw it for turn, you can at least send it and then get a draw off the Eclipse later in the turn if you're able to get that Eclipse summon. It's not great. That's like me pretending it's good. It's like the same thing with like Impulse, like we're pretending it's good against the deck. But where Meowth does really where it really shines is opening this. Basically, is the same thing as opening Fluros versus a deck like Blue Eyes versus a deck like Malice, and even like some like random decks, like even like Fiendsmith variants or like Road decks. The Meowth can't come up, so it's not horrible. It's not the end of the world. I mean, the main thing here is the reason we're even making 2 Fluros is mainly to combat Malice. Yes, it's broken against everything, but Fluros is mainly here for Malice. And so really, for Malice. And so Meowth really just acts as the third Charmy that we have here that is, that is focused on hitting that Malice matchup because we are very afraid of it. And then we have 3 Perulia because Perulia is amazing. It solves a lot of the deck building holes in this deck. And then it's an upstart against almost every deck. It's actually strong against Blue Eyes as well. So there's just more relevant cards to hit. It's also not horrible against Malice. You can get a normal summon half the time at least. And then if they play 1, maybe 2 Bystials, you're getting another 1 to 2 draws off that, or they're forced to make a half board because they don't want to summon the Bystial. So yeah, it's not horrible. The Charmies are nice as always. And then we played 3 Ash Blossoms because it hits the Charmies and it's just strong and it hits key cards in every single deck. So why not play this? And next we have Imperm. This is our only main deck Dweller out, I guess. But the other idea with this deck is like if you're able to open 1 or 2 of these hand traps, your Ryzeal opponent shouldn't be able to end on Detonator and Dweller. And when they don't know who you are, when you're not playing at locals with the same list every weekend, if you're playing on DB, if you're playing at a regional, they're not going to just know to hard make Dweller versus your deck. So in that aspect, I think not maining like anything like Droplet is fine. My last hand trap here is Impulse. So these hand traps on top of the Ashes like really cover. They do the job covering every deck that we're playing against right now. Even Ryzeal 2 degree Impulse is like the same as like Meowth, where it's not horrible. It can cover a couple cards. Worst case scenario, honestly, you just hold it in your hand when you go in second, and like you just hit the nib with this. When they go to nib you don't have to go for a minstrel line. You can just hold the Impulse for the nib. So it has implications. But yeah, this non-engine count has been a great. Especially like these cards are like Impulse is just crazy against. It's too good against every other deck in the meta that you just kind of have to play it versus Ryzeal anyways. And, half the Ryzeal decks you're going to play against are going to be hybrids of Fiendsmith or Mitsurgi. So the Impulse is very strong, honestly, versus all decks. It's really just pure Ryzeal, and pure Ryzeal, it's a tough matchup, but that's what the side deck's for, so we take those. And now on to the extra deck. Play the 1 Mermail King, 1 Lacia, 1 Coral, standard. Nothing to talk about here. I played the 1 Poseidon, the 1 Gyos, the 1 Trite. Not much to talk about here. This is just standard. And then the double Bahamut, Dweller. And then I guess with that, the double Toad. So this is also standard. Not much to talk about here. Then we played the 1 Levy as our rank 3. This is one of the flex spots of the deck, I guess. But this card, I do think warrants its slot here because it does help us with the create the half boards that we need. The half boards being basically either just Shrine or Lacia paired with a Prince Poseidra combination. And what's really cool about Levy versus a card like Porpoise that typically you might see here in this slot, where basically the slot is what does our Poseidra do when it sends to the graveyard to summon back 3 bodies. And so some people will choose to do Porpoise, some people will choose to do you could just like go for like a level 7 play, go for like the Big Croc, go for a Trishula. Well, I think Levy's probably just like the best option. What's also really nice about Levy is that it's the only post Poseidra summon card that doesn't require a tuner. So the biggest thing with Levy is like you don't have to get Minstrel in rotation for your Levy to be live. That even if you only have like a Shrine Squad and Prince, which I'm sure we've all seen and had before, you can actually do something where before, if you were playing like card like Porpoise, you have no tuner. If you're playing Trish or Big Croc, you have no tuner. And so that's a pretty big deal. And I think this is the best option. So it's super flexible in what it does. So it offers like nice utility to the deck. And yeah, I really do like Levy. And then for our synchros, we play 1 Chenning, 1 Donna, and 1 the Krishan Quadrax. We'll play the Quadrax because half the time, you might be like adding Triana off of King, and then you can use a Minstrel and your Prince to make a level 4 synchro, as well as you can use like if you special infantry from Grave off Poseidra, you can normal Diva and then summon a guy, and then you can have like Diva and infantry go into your synchro 4 to then pair with a Triana summon monster or a monster that's still in the field from a Trite summon. So yeah, Krishan is really nice. Donna is for the statue combo, and then Chenning is like my absolute flex spot. I mean, I understand why Chenning is good. I do like Chenning. I like Gamir as well. I like Zealantis. Honestly, this is a flex spot. I also tried Typhon here. They've I mostly tried with Chenning and Typhon. They have not neither come up so far out of like the 15-16 games I played with this deck. If anything, I would be more leaning towards probably just actually playing Beside at 2. I Beside at 2 is probably actually the way to go. I've just been kind of holding off on it because it seems a little silly to play 2 cards that do the same thing. But I mean, my flex spot has never come up anyways, so maybe having a follow-up Poseidra would be very useful, as well as it would make it to where you just have a little bit more of a grind game because you can use, you try on one turn to make a Poseidra, and then the follow-up turn you have a Gaios play to go into the Poseidra. So yeah, I think double Poseidra is probably the play, but the Chenning is a complete flex spot. Everything else I think is like pretty cemented for this pure list for me, but yeah, Chenning is a flex. And now onto the side deck. So I'll hold off on the ending on one card. So what's cemented for me so far is the triple Lancia, for obvious reasons, don't need to go over it. The double Minstrel Callby. So because we don't play Deep Sea King, Droll is a little more scarier. Yes, you can play around it, but you don't want to have to play around it. So Minstrel just helps with the so typically you're always at least just siding out like your 3 non-water charmies to put these in, and then you can kind of play with the rest of your non-engine like siding in and out cards. But yeah, so these will always come in through like for the 3 non-water charmies, and yeah, you're typically, it just helps like with opening the hand rip, and if you can hand rip before you start playing, that's obviously broken. Minstrel is broken. It's just not amazing in the main deck at multiple copies because you're not guaranteed to go first. And so that's where Minstrel comes in. Minstrel at 3 is amazing when you're guaranteed to go first. And then Callby just adds to, dealing with problem cards like Shifter, Charmies, and whatnot. And then next card I've been really enjoying lately is the double Lightning Storm Harpy. This card has been a pretty powerful card for me. What this does for us is it allows us to clear Blue Eyes back row, where they'll typically have like the Blue Eyes, Spirit of Light or whatever it is, a continuous trap that blows up their own board. And so you can force out their spirit negation by making them protect themselves. You can also hit the Blue Eyes trap that like pops a bunch of cards, non-targeting. You can also hit, Solemn Strikes, Imperms, their field spell. You can hit whatever else there is. There's also like floodgates going around, like Soul Drain is starting to pop up everywhere. So we want to have these versus honestly every matchup. And what Lightning Storm also helps us do versus card deck like Malice is it helps us clear the Griffin lock, where typically they'll have either Griffin already engraved, or they'll have Griffin on field and like Bawa or whatever her name is, the new like Link 4 I think she is. She like summons back Griffin. Well, this deals with that lock. Like the summon won't be able to stick if you hit him with a Lightning Storm, as well as you can at least force out back row, which again, like you're just forcing the traps to activate early, as well as always hitting cards like Imperm, Tronus, stuff like that. Also very good against pure Ryziel and other variants of Ryziel, just because you're hitting the back row, you're forcing out the cross at the very least, and then you're also just sweeping the back row, which is always filled with Tronus and Imperms and Strikes, and yeah, you might get hit by Judgment, but you rather have these get Judgmented than your normal summon. So I really like these cards as well. And then I play 3 Encores to hit the Dweller. So now let's talk about there. And now I'm currently playing through copies of different cards. So with this list, I played triple Chaos Hunter. Now, with this card, I saw it one time versus Malice, and it got Cerberus, but it forced someone on an awkward board, so maybe it's not horrible, although I didn't love it. I didn't love it. I think the worst part about it is, like, you just have to discard for it. And typically, when I summoned this, it was through Shifter, so the card I had to discard was Shrine, and I had to discard Shrine to get banished, so we don't love that. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this card. Maybe it is warranted and just necessary. But I only saw it one time, and the one time I saw it, I didn't love it. So the other card I'm looking to fill this slot currently, what I'm testing is I'm testing 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. Where I think Droll and Lockbird might be a nice side deck option. So I do want to have more cards that cover the Ryziel matchup, and Droll will help with that, just stopping them from drawing all those non-engine. Might actually also stop them from the duo ad. You can also hit a lot of cool decks like Mitsurgi with it, Water obviously. We can hit random rogue decks. It also helps against Blue Eyes. But mainly the reason I would want to play Droll is I noticed that when I'm siding in for going first, I don't really have a whole lot of non-engine I want for going first, and I think Droll fills that spot beautifully because Droll basically acts as call by 2, 3, and 4, or Ash Blossom 4, 5, and 6 for the Charmies. Especially now, this is a lot. Now I will say that I'm currently testing Droll in my Deep Sea King variant, not so much the Pure. With the Pure variant, I mainly just tested Chaos Hunter currently. I do think the Droll idea is very strong in the Deep Sea King build, because you really can just play off of a Shrine. So once you add your Shrine, and you have like, you know, your board established, you can minstrel their hand, and then like you can like summon DeepSea King from deck, give them that draw, and then draw them there, and then from there on you're totally fine, and you can draw them there, special all your bodies, you've already minstreled them, and then you'll be able to summon statue easy, and then I'll lock them out of the game anyways. So I do think draw is pretty strong, and then just other cards I'm looking at to potentially fill this role would be either 3 Nib or 3 Phantasme. Phantasme is an interesting card because it helps against Malice, helps against Blue Eyes, helps against Fiendsmith, lets you draw into like your better cards. So like why Phantasme might be cooler than Chaos Hunter is because you can just draw into Lancia, which is usually just a lot better than the Chaos Hunter. Also, you can draw into like cool cards like Ash. You can draw into you know, non-engine you might need, and same with Nib is like it's a blowout, but I think I'm just a Nib hater at this point. But then my main issue with these two cards is that they conflict with the Lightning Storm Harpy, where typically all the decks I want to put the back row destruction in versus, I also want to put these in versus, so it's just a little bit of a confliction there. I don't love to have that. I don't like having that conflictions anywhere. So yeah, I'm still playing with like that last slot. You could also, another card you could be looking at here as your last slot in the side deck could be like Droplet as well. Maybe even playing like two rolls and 1 Droplet, or maybe like no, honestly, what am I saying? It would really just be 3 droplets. But yeah, so we're still looking at how we want to complete the side deck. But that is it for the list currently. I hope this was helpful for you guys. I feel really good about this list. Currently, it's running really smooth for me, and the deck is surprisingly a lot stronger than I thought it was going to be without the DeepSea King cards. It is very consistent, and so I think that was the biggest point I really took away from this. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of this list. But now I am currently playing with the DeepSea King variant again. I want to kind of get my DeepSea King list in a good spot, get my pure variant in a good spot, and then basically decide from there which list I think might be better to take to the regional. And yeah, it's really exciting stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.